Thank you again. Like everybody else, it's a real honour to be here. One of my very first forays into the eating disorder world way back when my daughter was first organised was I self-funded myself to go to Canberra and attend an NEDC members meeting. So I have fond memories of these events. Okay, so my task today is really to set the scene for what Leslie is going to come and talk a whole lot more detail about after me. But talking really about when do you become a peer, what are some of the benefits of peer support, becoming part of the peer workforce, which is a specific type of peer engagement, I guess, the diversities of the roles and supporting peer workforce. So, and what I thought I'd do, rather than just list you a whole lot of facts and figures and research papers and things, and I'm pretty sure Leslie's got a few of those in hers, but that I'd do it actually through my own, the lens of my own experience on this journey. So when do you become a peer? I kind of looked up some definitions and none of them quite worked, but really it's when you live a particular experience that is or can be shared with others. That's the starting point for any of us, and there's a number of people here today who work in the peer workforce, and really this all started when we had that experience. So for us, our beautiful daughter developed anorexia in 2011. I just found this picture the other day. Actually, it was quite... it's been so long now that I don't actually often have a really heavy emotional response to our own experience anymore, but suddenly this picture was so evocative of her sitting at a coffee table. We always used to eat in front of the TV because that was easier for her to eat, and she used to that was a bowl of yoghurt, but it would end up sort of smeared all over the bowl. It was just kind of like, it was very evocative, that whole picture for me. And so she got diagnosed when she got sick unwell quite quickly, and within sort of really about 8 to 10 weeks of the first symptoms as such, she was in hospital. So we got our diagnosis in an emergency ward at the Children's Hospital. And then she had a hospital admission for 5 weeks, and really I used that 5 weeks time to really do all the research I possibly could into everything I could possibly find. And really, amazingly for us, one of the first things I found was an online peer support forum run by an organisation called FEAST, which is an international organisation that supports families and carers. They have an online forum. It still goes today. One of their moderators is where are you, Bronwyn? Bronwyn's one of the moderators of the FEAST forum and has done so for the last 8 years, and it's a lot of families have credited that forum for saving their sanity. So we found that peer support quite early on while she was still in hospital. And out of that forum, when I registered and I put my first post up going, oh, my daughter's just been diagnosed, I had 2 Melbourne mothers who contacted me in the background, said, here's our mobile phone number, call us anytime you want. They both had daughters who were sort of 12 months, 18 months further down the track than we were, so they could kind of signpost for me where we were going to go. And that contact there then just expanded over years. I met a whole bunch of other families, both in Melbourne, in Australia, and actually it ended up being around the world. There are some phenomenal family advocates and peer support providers around the world, and actually it's been a real privilege of the journey that I have met some seriously amazing people. So I did not have access to a structured peer support workforce at the time. We were at the Children's Hospital. It's an excellent program. I'm staring at Martin over there. But back then I don't think anybody had structured peer workforce in any of the programs. So it was just not something. I ticked my thing. I moved on. Sorry, go back. So that's our story. We were doing family-based treatment. Normal family-based treatment. You see your family-based treatment team once a week for an hour and a half if you made the appointment go over. And really the rest of the time, you're on your own. You're doing it all yourself. So what were the benefits of peer support? Why did I feel that made a critical difference to our journey? It was about normalisation. Most families, and I think even the young people, it was such an honour to be following on from those amazing people speaking before. Those young guys, all of them, guys and girls, were fantastic. But for the whole family, an eating disorder diagnosis, you feel like you've landed on some different planet. It's just kind of like, whoa, where are we? This didn't look anything like what we thought this was. There's something really odd. To be really honest, some of the behaviours can be really quite odd, for rational people, and just trying to work it all out. So normalisation was just the key thing. We weren't some freak family on an island on our own experiencing this journey. There was people, online. There were people in South Africa, in Holland, all experiencing exactly the same thing. So that shared sense of thought, this is our new normal, and that's okay. Hope was really important. It's really hard. For most of the roles that as families and carers you are provided to do, you are provided to give up jobs, stay home, in some cases spend a large amount of money. The sort of emotional work that needs to happen often to work towards a good recovery outcome for your loved one takes a lot of effort. And if you are told at the beginning of that journey, if I'd had that nursing unit manager, I wouldn't have been happy. If you're told, most people don't get better from this, this is going to take forever to do that, it's trying to find that internally to do that is impossible. I also got loads of practical strategies. And back when we were first doing FBT, it was really, the very, very pure manualised version was, you know best, you know how to feed your kid best, you know how to do this. And we're going, I don't know how to do this. I really don't, So, having people say how to cook in a way that will provide sufficient calories for someone that I need to care for. How do I keep that person at the table when they're going to run away from the table? Or, all these sorts of things were just things I wasn't skilled to do and I learnt. Provided us with a map ahead. Having those two mums that were just a little bit further ahead was able to go, okay, this is really bad. It's not going to be this bad for this long. It'll be slightly better, in a few months' time. And mostly just people who got what we were going through and still encouraged us to be strong and to stick with it. I think it's very easy with eating disorders to get very overwhelmed by it, to not see where it's going, to think that sometimes some of the things you're being asked to do is going to damage your relationship with the person that you love. That's a really tough ask as a parent. And so, you want to know that I'm actually doing the right thing here. So seeing other people who had done that, who could give, I could see that their relationship with their daughter was really strong or son was really strong post doing that was really important. So as I said, we did have a great clinical team, but there was still this sense of, she doesn't get it, I would have, our amazing FBT therapist cheering a song going, you're doing this, and the little corner of the back of my head just going, have you done this? Do you really get what you're asking us to do? So there was that sense. So then becoming part of the peer workforce. For me, it was very organic. Oh God. What have I done? I'm not going to touch it. You can have it back now. So, I was way too confident saying I can do my own clicking. Okay, can we go back? Oh, that's good. That's not me. Okay, so becoming part of the peer workforce, and as I said, there'll be a number of people here today. In the current environment, it's an emerging workforce, so for most of us it's been very organic, how we've ended up in this space. For me, it was, it was a little touch of me kind of popping my head above the parapet and just going and having a couple of conversations with people, and then actually Martin, who's now at the RCH, was at SEED at the time, who came and said, would I mind doing a presentation as part of the FBT training they did. So I did an hour and a half, kind of the lived experience story for the people we were doing the training for. And then I kind of hung around a bit more and SEED had a little 25-hour project. Would you mind doing that? And then there was another one, and then I ended up at 4 days a week before I left. Oh, it's done it again. So it was really a very organic process. It's weird. That's right, back one more. I think so how did it grow in that context? And I think there were some learnings from how that role grew that were really fed into, we contributed to the development of the resource, and what were the learnings about why it was enabled to grow and how that role did become kind of a core part. So for those of you who don't know who the hell SEED are, they are the Victorian Centre of Excellence in Eating Disorders. They literally are funded by the state. Okay, they're funded by the state government to provide a whole range of support services for services and clinicians across the state of Victoria. So they're not a direct client-facing organisation. The key elements of success were really from the day I arrived or had anything to do with them, was this sense of inclusiveness and respect. The psychiatrist that was there at the time had a very strong value set about lived experience and the voice and the importance of that lived experience voice in co-design, co-production. A genuine openness to input and creativity. Sometimes they had quite slightly nutty ideas and they were very welcoming of them. The opportunity to debrief after direct family contact was really critical, and it's just something one side morphed from providing more of that informal support. I actually couldn't really go back to that informal support very easily because I really came to value the fact that I could have a 15-minute conversation with someone straight after that direct family contact, and I wouldn't hang with me for the next week or so. And also, it was important that SEED was then modelling to all these clinicians that we were providing training for and services that, this person is an equal member of our team, her input has the same value, really as the rest of the team. Click. So the diversity of roles. So for me, just a little picture of me, I had the opportunity to speak to a CAM service in Wales. This whole journey has been quite exciting in terms of opportunities to share this work. Diversity of roles, for me, part of my role was direct single session contacts with families who are struggling. So families who are doing FBT in a CAM service and they were struggling, those teams could come to us at SEED, and I and a clinician from SEED would go out and spend an hour and a half with that family. So that was kind of the direct family contact work I would do as a peer support worker. I was an equal contributor to clinical case discussion. So SEED received referrals from across the state about complex cases, and it's discussed around the table and then provided support to the team that was referring. I was an equal member of that discussion around the table. Co-design and co-delivery of professional development. I'm really pleased I've now left SEED, but SEED has really remained so focused that we're actually going to be working together between EDV and SEED to include the consumer input as well as the carer input into those professional developments. The development of resources for teams to use with families. And I now get to use my peer work skills. I feel like even though now I've taken on this different role at EDV, my role is being very strongly informed by that lens that I still carry around peer work. We have a very strong focus at EDV on peer support. We have a government-funded peer mentoring program, which is very successful. So for others, I want to include other people because there's a whole lot of other roles in peer work, so I'm just giving you a list, and I'm sure, again, Leslie will follow these up. But, support group facilitation. I was really interested when Beth was talking that the system, when we look at the system of care, there is actually another bit, and I'm not quite sure where it fits on that picture, around the social and community services part of the system and where it fits, because I think it fits across a whole range of different levels. So peer mentoring, as I said, we do peer mentoring program, but we probably, I don't know if we stole it, but we certainly followed on from EDQ, who started that work, and the Body Esteem program in WA. We're seeing a rise in peer workers in mental health services, both the Productivity Commission into Mental Health and our Victorian Royal Commission into Mental Health having a very strong focus on peer workforce as being critical. At phone coaching, which EDQ do. So there's a whole range of different roles that we can play in things. And I think I've run out of time, so I might just leave it there.